Hi, I'm Norma Hollis, and I welcome you to Authentic Conversations. Where else can you go in the whole world to have two people focused on authenticity from different parts of the world? It is Norma Hollis from Los Angeles, California, and Barry Octel, I hope I got that name right, and if I'm not, he'll get it right for me, who also talks about authenticity. Isn't it interesting that we met at a business entrepreneurial conference about a year or two ago? And it was interesting that we both had concepts on authenticity. And as we got to know each other, we found out that not only did we both talk about authenticity, but we both recognized authenticity from the same perspective. You know, there are many times when people hear words, especially words that are a little intangible, and they get their own meanings for it. What was so nice about Barry and I meeting is that we both came from the same place when we talked about authenticity. So it was a natural match for us to talk about, well, what can we do together? And we decided that the best thing for us to do was share our information, because authenticity is so important. If you look at our crazy world today, no matter where you are in the world, there's something crazy you can probably point to that's not authentic. But there is a great need to create more authenticity in the world, and that's what we're all about. So here we are. And let me welcome to the call today Barry. Now, give your last name so you can hear the right last name, please, because I know I didn't do it right.
That's all right. It's an Australian thing. My name is Barry Ockel, and I'm a specialised communicator here in Australia, looking at authenticity and how we really converse with each other, if you like, from the heart space. And I always believe that barriers such as, border barriers and that are falling away so fast. And I'm really excited about this possibility of creating a worldwide network where people around the world can have a conversation that is authentic with each other. And the purpose of what I see us doing is just that.
Yes. And it's so important to have authentic conversations. You know, we've become such a fast-paced world that we just say things out of rote. How are you? Fine. And we keep going. And when someone says they're not fine, it's like, what? You didn't expect that, because you've expected to hear fine all the time. But we're not being authentic when we just give rote answers to questions. It's really, what's the real answer? So how are you today, Barry?
Well, I am absolutely feeling the best I ever have in my life. That's the honest answer here today. And life is just changing for me and dramatically as I be authentic with people. And a classic example yesterday is I had to ring up to put a complaint in to a store. Okay. And I spoke to the manager and I spoke from the heart. And I said, this is not about just to complain, to dump onto you and make me feel better, but this is about can we create a change here? And by the end of the conversation, he was so grateful that I spoke to him that he's actually employing me to come in and talk to the staff.
Now, that is truly authenticity. That's authenticity in action. So tell us more about the work that you do with authenticity. I mean, obviously, you showed an example right there of just talking with someone and working with organizations. But tell us more about your work.
Look, my work stems primarily on a board game initially called Conversations. And this is a board game that is developed as a collaborative board game for people to transform their relationships and have really authentic conversations with each other. And the way it does that is really quite clever and really quite simple. But there are three things that happen during the game. The first is we teach people to really listen to each other, to really hear what's going on and apply it to themselves. And you mentioned that before, that we actually get to hear each other.
Yes, yes.
The second is that we learn to really speak and share our own wisdom with each other and to speak authentically. And we actually learn to do that in the game by using I statements. Yes. So a good example of that is, you need to meditate more isn't, someone might be telling someone something.
Right.
If we can change that to I need to meditate more or I choose to meditate more, then it becomes more empowering not only to myself, but then people listening can go, well, actually, I probably need to meditate more as well.
Right, right.
And the result of that is that there's this growth in the whole group. whether it's a couple playing or whether it's a team or an organisation, that there's words like genuine connections and synergy and that we're more like than disalike, and they're the sorts of things that come up. So all my work has evolved from the game and certainly using this game as a tool and all the other aspects that I do to help create this authentic communication between them.
You know, that's exciting. You know, and what we didn't do to start with is we didn't lay a groundwork in what we mean by authenticity. So why don't you tell us how you define authenticity?
I define authenticity as being really truthful and operating from your heart. You know, if we come from heart space, the rest will take care of itself.
Yes.
And there's a lot of programs out there that talk about trust and rapport as the first step in, you know, a sales process. To me, people are smart enough now to pick up if that's coming from a textbook.
Right.
But when we can have real interest and real trust and real rapport with people, that's when doors open.
That's a great definition because it is all about the heart, because we have become such a very heady, I know in the United States, a heady society, but I imagine as I'm learning throughout the entire world, we're very intellectually and left brain based. And authenticity really is more right brain, coming from the heart in terms of who you are. So that's a great definition. I appreciate that. So how did you get started?
As a male, that's an interesting one too, that, you know, like as a male, you know, operating from left brain, you know, I was an accountant initially.
Yes.
It is something that I've had to learn. It is a skill, I believe, that everyone can learn.
Well, that's good. We didn't talk about that before, but I didn't realize. You said you used to do what before from left brain?
I was an accountant initially, and then I went into teaching. So,
well, yeah, accounting is clearly left brain. Yes. Teaching could be a bit right brain, but accounting is left brain. So how did you make that transition? A lot of people that I've talked to have trouble making that transition from left to right brain, and many of them don't even recognize that the right brain even exists, especially when they get stuck into numbers and such structure that accounting requires.
For me, I guess the universe sort of stepped in, and I was diagnosed with a brain tumour 15 years ago, and there's nothing like a life crisis to evaluate what actually is important in my life.
Right.
And it enabled me to search for other alternatives. And just prior to that, the other thing that helped me was I used to wear Coke bottle glasses, and in 6 months passed a driver's license with 20/20 vision.
Well, how long ago was this?
This would be 20 years ago now that I did that.
Really? And then your eyes even changed? Your eyesight changed as well? That's interesting.
My eyesight went from Coke bottle glasses to 20/20 vision.
And has stayed that way?
And so part of my work that I do is working with people with eyesight and really working with people with vision of life, because for me, as we become clearer about our vision of life, our eyesight takes care of itself.
Right. Well, that's a great analogy. You know, I work with speakers quite a bit, and so you're talking my language as far as branding and creating a position and a platform for yourself that involves authenticity and goes beyond that. So that's phenomenal. It's a phenomenal way to step into your own authenticity and a great way to coach other people to recognize their authenticity as well. Do you do much coaching?
I do coaching. I've actually got people trained around the world, both in the vision area and also in the conversations area.
Oh, so wonderful.
For me, it's about moving that forward into other people.
Yeah.
Worked with a lady yesterday, and the whole process was about what was her $1 million idea and how can we make it happen.
Great.
And I just love to see that transformation. If people go beyond that limited view of what they can do to an amazing view, and she's going to help transform the world amazingly in areas that aren't done. That's
great. And it's so important for people to do that in areas that are authentically their areas, not to do it in something that they have no passion for. But authenticity connects you with your passion in the world. And when you can find careers that you can find sustainable doing your authentic passion, I mean, that really is what life's about from my perspective. It's not just about having a job and getting a paycheck. It's about finding your passion and making it authentically work for you on the planet.
And that to me just brings joy and happiness into my life. You know, I get such a buzz out of, you know, seeing growth in other people and seeing my own growth. You know, like I'm part of this journey that this particular game actually came to me literally in a dream.
I'm
I
not
really
surprised.
feel it's my own need to grow.
Right.
So
Right.
I just want to shift the conversation I want to shift it back to you, because what I'm hearing from you, even as you speak, is the same essence I heard the very first time I met you. And the whole authenticity just comes from you. And I'm just wondering, where did that originate from you, or is it something that you've had your whole life?
I was born with this. I have my whole life knowledge that I came to share something or do something while I'm here. And I've had tunnel vision to actually listening to the inner voice that guides me, my authentic inner voice, and allowing that voice to express itself through me. So in that expression is where authenticity came and surfaced. And for me, what I do is I have what I call an authenticity assessment, AuthenicityAssessment.com, in fact, where people can take a complimentary assessment of just 9 questions, and it helps them to look at energies in their life from 9 different perspectives. And I call it your authentic voice. People get a chance to connect with the voice, the person that they were born to be, why they're here on the planet. And so that's what my work has been, connecting people with the authentic person that they were sent here to be, or that they have the gifts and talents to be, and helping them to build that and be that, kind of get rid of the layers of masks and onions and blockages that we have put over ourselves over the decades of life of just dealing with stuff, and peeling that back and digging deep into who the individual is. Because when a person finds their authentic self, that's the seed of joy. And that's what I think we all want on the planet. We want to be joyful. And authenticity is definitely a route to make that happen.
That's amazing. So have you got an example of someone or a person who's gone through the program and the change that's happened?
Oh, I have several. From small, short-term changes, I have one girl who, after a month of being one of my proteges, lost 10 pounds. Not because she was trying to, but because she connected more with her authentic self and gained a level of confidence and contentment, and didn't feel the need to eat so much. So, and didn't let what other people said bother her. The next one would be 2 girls who each had eczema, and by connecting and correcting a dimension in their life where there was a block for them, their skin condition cleared up. And then I'll go to the more longer term. I have one girl, Tracy, who, when she started my program, she had been obese for over 40 years. And within 11 months of working with me, she actually released over 100 pounds and has kept that weight off now for 2.5 years. And people have better income, better relationships. What my program does, it identifies for them where their blocks are and then helps them to erase it just by going through the process. Yeah. So it's pretty fascinating.
That's amazing, because what I'm hearing you saying is that, it sounds great that they've lost so much weight, but the benefit they gain is far outside, far more than just the weight loss. It's really who they are as a person, and their identity, I guess, is really enhanced, and self-love and self-worth really comes out from that. That's what I'm hearing you say.
That's so true. And in the case of the girl that had the weight issue, the reason that she had the weight issues is because she had been abused at the age of 2 and started eating, and then abused again at the age of 12 and started eating again. So that's what we do. We put these layers over our pain, and after a while we forget who we are. And what my program does is help them to remove those layers. So she made the decision, first of all, to be authentic, recognizing that it would mean removing layers, and removing layers is painful. And she did it, and the results, I'm telling you, 6 months after she released her weight, she was speaking in France. She became an international speaker. And I haven't even heard from her lately because she's just been so busy. So this is what happens when people step into their authenticity. They really become the person that gives them such joy that life just changes.
One of the processes that I use that you may not know is I have a process called sabotage clearing, which is a kinesiology based.
Yes.
And we locate sabotage programs, conscious and unconscious, and clear them within the body within minutes. And it reminded me of an example of a lady who, within meeting her for 5 minutes, she was an elderly lady in a wheelchair, and she kept saying to me, "Only the good die young." And after 5 times in 5 minutes, I said, why do you keep saying this? You said, only the good die young. And she said, well, Barry, the situation occurred for her that when she was a child, as about a 10-year-old, her mother died.
Yes.
And the minister came up, and rightly or wrongly, the minister said, it's all right, my child, only the good die young. And what happened to this lady, that was to console her, but as she started to get older and into her 20s and 30s and 40s and 50s, she saw herself as being bad because only the good die young. And so it became chronic illnesses in a way of
trying to die,
if you like, literally. And when we cleared that, most of her conditions actually cleared, and she actually started living a happy life from the age of 60.
And, we deal in similar things. My education is early childhood, and I'm very, very familiar with what happens to us when we're children and how that lingers and creates the persona that we become as adults, which is part of the work that I do, is to break some of those down. I don't do it through the way that you do. I have a different method. But it's the same thing. That's what I love about the work that we do that is directed by spirit, and we're listening and following, because it's so similar. No matter where you are in the world, no matter who you are and how you're doing it, when you're listening, you find your people, because we're all doing the same thing based on our own perspectives of the world. But it's so similar. So that's great.
And one of the things that I see that we're doing here together is that what we're creating together is greater than the individual parts.
Oh, absolutely.
And so it's the concept of 1 + 1 = 3. That the change that can occur when people come together is far greater than individual people. So I'm really looking forward to these in the future, and I'm looking forward to bringing other people in as well and expanding authenticity, not just in an area, but in the whole world.
Yes, and I have another person, I call him my twin, and he actually is in Spain. In Barcelona, and he has an authenticity radio show. So the three of us are doing the same work, different parts of the world, very similar. And I'm sure there's others of us as well, but it's just fascinating how we're connecting, and I can't wait to see what the world would have us do as we connect even more. It's exciting.
And I think the goal of this is, for those people listening, to me the biggest goal is to recognise the authenticity in each person listening now.
Yes.
And know that they can be the absolutely best person that they can be as well.
Yes, because each person brings great something to the world, something uniquely that's themselves. Sometimes that uniqueness gets lost in the ways of the world, but helping people connect with their uniqueness is really the seed of their joy, the seed of success in life, and the seed of authenticity. It's really important for self-confidence and just knowing who you are. There's so many benefits to authenticity. We can go on and on.
Oh, for sure. So your web address again? Is?
My web address, normahollis.com, normahollis.com. Now, I also encourage people, when you come to normahollis.com, click on number 3, and that will take you to the authenticity assessment. It's a complimentary assessment that gives you a score for how you're living your life, authentically or not, based on 9 dimensions of authenticity. So take it and have fun with it.
Terrific.
And what about yours?
My website is www.conversationsthegame.com.
Yes.
And if you go there, you can get yourself a free ebook on conversations and relating from the heart. And you can also navigate your way to my own personal site, barryockertel.com, where you can get a free 5-minute video on how to improve your eyesight in a few minutes. And that's pretty exciting.
I need to get that myself. I'm impressed. And by the way, I'm also impressed with your game. I did play your game with your group once, and it's I love the way you do it and the questions. And it's and I don't even call it a game. I call it just a conversation, which I know you call it as well. But I just want to, I really enjoyed it, and it was very insightful, and it was very timely. The questions that were asked were very appropriate for where I was in life at that time, and caused me to ponder. And that's interesting, because my assessment causes you to ponder too. So I guess that's part of what authenticity is. It causes you to think.
And I'm looking forward to how those two even weave themselves in further as we continue this conversation further down the road. And I'm sure there's connections there. So that's really pretty exciting.
Yeah. Yeah, it
Look,
is.
just to finish up, Norma, I just wanted to get your vision on the Authentic Conversations TV program and what you see that has for yourself.
Well, I think the importance of it is, first of all, helping people to recognize the importance of authenticity. We've lived such a phony, fake, strangely valued life in so many ways in so many parts of the planet. And I think where we're at right now with the changes occurring planetary in the planets and the alignment that's occurring and the way things are happening faster. I know you've talked about some things with yourself happening faster, happening with me. There's change that's occurring. And that change, I think, that's happening worldwide is asking all of us to step more into a perspective of authenticity. So here we have a vehicle of two processes, probably more than that once we begin to explore them, that enable people to really find their authenticity, live with authenticity, and share the authenticity. So what I see our TV show is as one that helps open the conversation so that people first have more clarity about what it means to be authentic. Secondly, understand the value and why it's important that it's even part of our conversation. And then thirdly, identify some ways, small ways, big ways, ways unexpected, authentic ways that people can step into authenticity and live their life with more joy. So that's what I see us doing, really educating, giving lifestyle options, letting people know that there is choice in how you spend your days and how you live your life. And that choice you make can be a choice to live life with more authenticity and have fun in the process.
Yes. Oh, thank you. Look, I totally agree with all of that. And as an educator, this is a learning process. And not just for the people listening. This is a learning process for us. This is a learning process for all the people who are involved behind the scenes. And
yes.
What I really recognise so much, and when I talk with people from overseas and whether in America or in Spain or in Europe, that we are so much more alike than disalike. And one of my wishes is that we get to see that, and that some of the hot spots in the world, that some of those people get to see this and start recognising that the way forward is through authentic conversations.
Right, right. And what I tell people sometimes is, as much as we'd love to change the whole world, it's not possible to do that. But what is possible is to change your world, change the world around you. And if you change your world, then the people in your world will change their world, et cetera, et cetera. And that's how we make major change. So I see us as a catalyst through authentic conversations, through becoming more authentic, through having more joy prescriptions and the different ways that we offer to make that happen. I see us creating more in our own world as far as authenticity so that others can do the same. We are way showers to show them how to make that happen in their lives.
That's wonderful. And this is really leading edge stuff, having a conversation across the world with each other that will be broadcast worldwide at some stage. So thank you very, very much for your time, Norma. I really appreciate it.
And Barry, thank you for yours.
I absolutely love being in your presence.
Yeah, I think we have a lot to offer. We're a tremendous team, and I can't wait to see us do more. Thanks. Look forward to the next round.
Thanks, everyone.